from the Mayhem.
Hey everybody, this is John Cracom, and I'm the president of the Florida Mayhem.
My name is Jaleesa Sutton. I'm an event specialist with the Florida Mayhem.
Hello everyone, my name is Sybil Dork. I am the social media manager for the Florida Mayhem.
The Spring Classic Series is a tournament that celebrates skill, talent, and the game of Overwatch itself.
T2 is something that we have a lot of people who are passionate about. I think one of our strengths as an organization is that we've hired really passionate members of the Overwatch community. We sit around and talk about what we care about for the game and how we can find ways to make it more compelling, more interesting, bigger, better. You know, the folks involved in T2 and folks like Monkey Bubble and everybody we work with are so excited and so happy to do this that it's kind of a no-brainer. It's a really fun thing for us to do that we love to watch and be part of every year.
We enjoy supporting and showcasing the Tier 2 scene, and this tournament gives us an opportunity to highlight them and put them on a broadcast and let them show their amazing skill.
So I approached John and said, hey, how can we kind of give back to that community that gave me so much, and I guess by extension gave you so much as well? And he was extremely receptive to the idea. He loved the idea of kind of giving back to the community in that way and spotlighting the talent that's making its way through the path to pro. We really enjoyed like the old school tournaments of Overwatch, kind of the formative, like first time experience that a lot of us had watching Overwatch be played at a competitive level. So the Mayhem Classic series was our opportunity to kind of recreate that old magic, but with all the new talent that everyone's trying to keep an eye on today. I want to give a special shout out to all the crew behind the scenes, our presenting sponsor especially, Zaxby's. Make sure you go download their mobile app. You get a free signature sandwich just for having the app installed. It's kind of crazy.
I hope you all enjoy the Spring Classic Series. The team put a lot of work and labor of love into this tournament, and we hope you enjoy.
Thanks, everybody. I hope you're really enjoying the Mayhem Spring Classic and look forward to a lot more out of our team going forward.
I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Thanks for watching.
From one barn burner to the next, the Mayhem just doesn't stop giving heroics. We're going from... I don't think we could have opened up the date any better than that 5-map series into one that could just as rightfully go the same distance. It's Odyssey versus Darkmode from the lower half of the winner's bracket.
Yeah, I mean, giving and giving is what this stream continues to do. We had that great match. Zaxby's is apparently giving out free sandwiches now, right? So I know what I'm doing for dinner.
I wasn't told about this.
But either way, yeah, going into this next match, Odyssey is a team that I've been really excited about. You know, haven't been able to cast Overwatch for like the last 3 months. And Odyssey is a team that, you know, in that time, I've been kind of pondering, you know, is American Tornado, Odyssey, those kinds of teams that were successful throughout the entirety of really Season 2 and then going into Gauntlet, are they going to be still as strong? Well, I mean, looking at these rosters, looking at Odyssey in particular, the pickups that they had, and one in particular that I love, is Sigma. If anybody missed Gauntlet, you missed the pop-off of the entire year. Sigma is someone to look out for, especially on Tracer, and I'm curious to see where Odyssey wants to go with this.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sigma, it's not just Sigma, though. It is King, who is another one of those young talents. These teams are both kind of full of them, right? We've got Rhino, who turned 15 5 days ago. Happy birthday, Rhino. Darkmode's got Tree, who was in elementary school when Overwatch was released, and is another just absolute nut. It is like a daycare, but the people being taken care of are going to take care of everybody else in more of a murderous, damaging way. But the metaphor's somewhere in there.
I think the interesting thing too is that people like to compare EU and NA, and they talk about, you know, certainly the Gauntlet stuff that we saw, you know, a few months back, but I think the big thing is talking about all the players that get pulled up to Overwatch League. And I think the interesting thing with regards to that conversation is EU actually is 18. NA kind of just isn't. They're just not old enough yet. I mean, there's a lot of talent here. You're looking at players like Rhino, like King, Tree, Sugar Free. I mean, there's tons and tons of players. I would say it's like a 6-to-1 ratio, if not higher, on players that are probably good enough for OWL that are not eligible than those that are. I mean, you're looking at players like Wub, and Fi's German, so he doesn't even count. And the ratio is so skewed in North America, man. It's insane.
Yeah, we can joke about daycare all about these players would kick our butts, any of y'all's butts, any day of the week. This is not a match to take any lighter for it. We've seen what Odyssey can do. And that's what I really like about Odyssey, right? They showed us a lot of really good promise last season, and they didn't come in like all these others. They didn't fully revamp their roster. They identified one part, and they're like, hey, we want to upgrade here. We want to keep the things that we got solid. And this is what esports wants to be. This is what esports wants to see, is you build a solid roster and then you just kind of get those little additions that makes you that extra bit better, that gets you that much closer to getting that extra little bit of percentage. You're not talking like a 40 to 50% increase in team ability now. They're good enough. They get those pieces. They're on 1-2%. That's how you can test revivals. That's how you can test the American tornadoes. And I think Odyssey might be able to do that with this roster.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree, especially given what we know about the core of the roster and now putting in those new additions, King, Sigma. I'm certainly curious to see a little bit more of Sigma that isn't just Tracer. I mean, that's what we saw most often from him in Gauntlet, but certainly showed out there. Now the question I think that everyone's going to have really is, what else can he do? How successful is he going to be at that, especially on a team that isn't, fully Korean speaking outside of just Lep, who was for some reason on that team, and we don't know why still, but nonetheless, I'm certainly, he's one of the better hit skins that we've seen come out, and it's still very early in his, NA career. But this is certainly a really good second opportunity to show that, it wasn't just a one-off Tracer performance. He's got more in store for us.
Yeah, and it might not be Tracer. It might be Tracer. Who knows? They're playing musical heroes at this point. But the one thing I can say is we haven't seen this map yet today. The last time we saw Oasis, it went 2-0, and it was pretty convincing that there wasn't going to be any dive. It is the polar opposite here.
Yeah, absolutely. From both sides too. That's what's interesting. And you have some of these young talents, and Tree going up. He's going to be playing the Echo, one of the Echoes that I've been looking forward to, because we've been waiting for someone to contest speedily. So maybe players like Echo and Tree can be that person to have that answer.
Yeah, I know you and I were talking about it during the break. Who can actually do it? Maybe Echo, dude. That's where my money is. But Tree, I've got so much depth in that hero pool. There's really a lot to be said for this team. But right now, the only thing to be said is a neutral game. Darkmode holding off to the side, not wanting to give any of that space. Zarya trying to get that charge up so that when the fight does break down, they'll have an advantage. But until then, the mobility of Odyssey is getting them so much more.
And Dreamer is probably the person that Darkmode is going to look to most often. And when fights break down, they look to Dreamer to make big plays. But with him out of the equation, it's harder.
Yeah, I mean, you lose that team leader, you lose the person who needs to elevate this squad. And with that, Odyssey are able to open the door, get their foot in, and get that percentage going.
It makes a lot of sense, too, with what we know about Sigma. Shouldn't be a big surprise that we see him here, but I want to look to Aspire. We know Sigma's good at Tracer, but Aspire has been a player, came out, Revival, Razor was his DPS duo. Razor kind of made a name for himself. Aspire kind of fell off a little bit, and I don't mean that in terms of skill, I just mean in terms of spotlight, time in it. And I think this is a good opportunity. If he can do well against Sigma here, oh boy, is he back in the picture.
Always a shot to make a name for yourself. This percentage is just going up, man. This is such a difficult point to contest for Darkmode. Even with the ultimates online, what are you attacking here, right? What's the dive target realistically? Maybe Luke Mito, but he's good at trance. It's so difficult to actually get in on this team. Plus, they have high ground on top of that, so for all the work that Sigma might be doing, actually reaching the players of Odyssey to do any of it is really hard.
Yeah, any Tracer going in for a dive is certainly going to be met by a whip almost immediately, too.
Oh, there's the EMP. King's looking for more, but Sigma has the opening. Another one for Tree, though, to equalize things. Forces the Transcendence out. They're dead even. Sigma's doing everything in his power right now to turn this game around, but it hasn't quite been done yet. Darkmode's still looking decent for the fight, but with Vulcan and Sigma going off, they're holding on strong.
He literally ate that pulse bomb that could have turned things, and now they're back in control. Only about 10% remaining. Odyssey dominant right now to start things off, and Darkmode making swaps. They're actually going to have Tree matching the Sombra, but he's just not going to be able to get into position quick enough.
I mean, this is a map where you could realistically charge up a whole EMP in one fight with how long they could go, but I mean, it is a stretch to say the least. Odyssey are coming in. They've got ultimates. Sigma could end this with a singular pulse bomb. Where's the timing, though? They want to force out that trance, and there it is. Now the pulse bomb could be even bigger, and there it is. Oh, my Lord, Sigma! 3?
I'm telling you, man.
That wasn't a grab. That was naked.
I'm telling you, Sigma is something special. If you missed Gauntlet, you missed Sigma. And I'm so glad that you're here now watching, or, whoever you are, if you were the one that missed Gauntlet, if you were the one person that missed Gauntlet, I'm glad you're here now and being able to bear witness.
I don't care how many times you show me Prophet. I don't care how many times you show me Striker. I don't care how many times you show me Sigma's Tracer. I'm not going to expect a 3-man pulse bomb here, Ix.
Especially with that timing, if he was just, a half second later, or maybe even less than that, he might have also caught the Zen out of trance as well. That's the other thing that's crazy. That could have very easily been a 4-man, depending on the timings, but
I guess he had to clean it up afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, unlucky. Wound up just
Sigma,
going in
step
and
it up, bud. Come on.
Nonetheless, though, I mean, this is going to be a question mark, though. Stigma, we know, is a good tracer. Can we see more from him outside of that, or is Odyssey just going to rely on this dive, knowing full well that they can just diff anybody on this setup?
But this is a look. The Pharah. I mean, I know Sigma's tracer's been the highlight, but King's throwing us a little change-up, throwing us a little something along the side here, and I like to see it. They have the Mercy for the pocket. There's no real downside that I can think of. What's going to really counter it on the side of Dark Mode, right? Tree and Aspire have a lot of work to do if they don't want this Pharah to work out.
Rhino getting backed off, Aspire going in, but they need a lot more than this, especially with his recall down. He has to completely back out of that engage.
Tree's out of the question now. Dark Mode slowly but surely being ground out of this. Big shout out to Rack Attack for actually somehow managing to keep King alive through all this and allows the rocks to go through. It's that slow chip damage, but by God, it felt like so much under the pressure of Dark Mode.
And I love this composition as well from Odyssey. Again, just hinging everything on the fact that they know Sigma can play kind of on an island and do his own thing. And I also had a question of whether or not he was going to be able to play, without a language barrier, but with the way that he's playing, it might not even really matter. He just has to do a couple of, very specific calls, maybe that he needs help or healing or whatever, when he's flanking, and that's pretty much it.
There's King. No Barrage online. This is just an empowered Pharah. They know how much work King is actually getting done right now. Sigma is scary, but with 2 threats like this and no answer in the DPS lineup, it's almost impossible for Dark Mode to even get through these chokes.
You see them just continually halted time and time again. Even the Sombra can't even make it through. But speaking of the Sombra, EMP going to be coming online, and that may be the key to unlock the door to this objective for the first time in, literally a minute.
I'm scared, man. Right, if this Transcendence gets forced out by something like Transcendence, or by something like the Pulse Bomb, then you've got the Barrage online. And that Barrage isn't there. King did not get hit by that EMP! Will get hit by his own Barrage. Okay, trade it out. Dark Mode. The EMP... Oh, no. I shouldn't even speak. Sigma's still alive. Oh, no. This just gets worse. It just gets worse. He just keeps going!
Oh man, he's just finding kill after kill. King's there to clean things up, or at least set him up. I mean, this is kind of an alley-oop setting. This is the old Tracer Pharah setup that we saw back on like Lijiang Gardens way back in the day, where you saw the Pharah just hit one direct and then the Tracer can go in and just finish the job off by himself. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. This is like a 2017 comp just working.
Let's make sure it works. One more push, Dark Mode. You gotta rally. You're going into no ultimates, fortunately. And Aspire 1v1 Sigma. That's the huge threat out of the way, but you still haven't managed to deal with King, right? What's your answer here to this Pharah? Nobody can actually reach them. It's a hack. Though they will be kept alive by the Mercy. Rack Attack dutifully holding on now, but it's not dead. It's just a reset for Odyssey.
Yeah, and a reset that's going to be fairly clean here. They lose Vulcan, but he was out of mech anyway, so that's almost best case scenario, to be honest. They get the res, they don't lose out on the timing. He's going to get back into mech, Sigma in position, and I think he even still has his recall. So they're in a great spot to just nano up and go.
Aspire's got to go big with this Pulse Bomb, honestly. In the back lines, look for the Ana. Nothing to be found, though. Maybe just some sort of reward for killing Sigma. You take down an Ana, but your team's going down to the backline. You committed 2 people to that whole thing, and you lost a tank, and Odyssey were just able to sweep it right from out right in your legs.
Yeah, overtime ticking down. Dreamer's able to get there, but he has to get right back out just as quickly and somehow make his way back in. He's halted.
Wow. Odyssey, what a dominant game. I want to give credit to their tanks. Rhino looks good. Vulcans look great, but there's no denying what that DPS line just did to Dark Mode. that was, I think the only word is dismantling.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And the thing that I think is most interesting is, going into this tournament, I did some chatting around, trying to talk and see what kind of scrimbucks I could acquire myself, try to see what kind of information we could gather. And, I think going into this, a lot of teams were thinking that Odyssey was going to play some form of spam, maybe a dive, maybe a rush here and there. But I would say most were saying the first, but Odyssey coming out swinging, and I think largely because of the prowess that Sigma has on the Tracer and the willingness as well, I think equally as important, from Darkmode's corner to just try to mirror them, and it's just not working. I mean, the rotations that we're seeing happening, you talked about at the very end, where we saw a lot committed into just taking out Luke Mino and Sigma just biding time while the rest of Odyssey was just wearing down Darkmode's entire front line.
There's a big question here, right? Well, the question at the beginning of the day was, can Odyssey actually play something other than this poke competition? Can they play, mix it up, a rush, a dive, something? But the team has changed a lot over just these couple of swaps, right? Their DPS line used to be very poke oriented. They still have Dove, who's an incredible McCree and can play the Ashe extremely well. But when you put King in, when you put Sigma in, you're built to play a different kind of team, and Rhino has a solid ball. Vulcan is known for having a very good diva. Like, it's weird. The pieces were there, but we still kind of weren't expecting it, because that's not what Odyssey's ever been.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing too is the storyline behind Odyssey's support line, because going into when we started seeing them pop up in season 2 at the very beginning, everybody was like, okay, Rack Attack is a one trick. They were even actually saying about the tank line. Rhino's a straight up Orisa one trick. Vulcan is a Sigma one trick. Rack Attack can only play Brig. Luke literally can only play BAP. And that was the conversation that everybody was having with regard to Odyssey. Everybody was saying that. Everybody was thinking that. It was, not just the community, it was also the players kind of dictating that conversation. But Odyssey, they have slowly kind of fleshed out what is a really formidable and versatile team, and especially on their support lineup. When you look at the end of season 2 and you look at what they're doing now as well, Luke's playing heck of stuff, man. I mean, he's on Lucio, obviously the BAP. We've seen him on Zen. We've seen him on basically everything but Mercy. I think we've seen him on Moira as well, back in Gauntlet for one map. Rack Attack has done a bunch of different stuff. We've seen him on Lucio, Brig. We've seen him on Mercy, like literally the entire run. I think we've even seen his BAP once as well with Luke on Zen, and then they swapped back. But Odyssey, they've done a bunch of different stuff. You can't call them the one-trick team anymore. They just aren't.
Oh, not a chance. This is a team that is now showing to be flexible in a meta that it is really, really good to be flexible. It is the perfect time for Odyssey to find that pop-up. I think everyone coming into this tournament is kind of looking at that same group of 3 teams, maybe a couple floating around the outside. Again, Obey, who knows what kind of heights they might actually reach by the end of today. And then you've got American Tornado, Revival, Odyssey, who are kind of the clear 3. Odyssey is making a pretty good shout for themselves, looking at Revival possibly later down the bracket. It's all depending on the flexibility, though, because Revival is a one-trick pony team. All they want to run is rush. And if Odyssey can keep them on their toes, keep them guessing with all these compositions, that might cause some serious problems.
Yeah, that's a one trick by choice too, because they are capable of doing other things. And speaking of doing other things, Odyssey is going to be swapping Dove in now over Sigma. So I would have to say Dive's gone.
Yeah.
The poke, the spam, that's back in. And Darkmode now have to combat against that. We're going to be going into a new map here, which means a whole new strategy. And that could actually play into the strengths of Odyssey, where, again, they are a little bit more versatile, and certainly more so than we saw them at the beginning of season 2. And I think Havana plays into their old strengths, where they can kind of go back and rely on that. And we'll have to see just how good that style of play is. Obviously, we know AT just got absolutely dumpstered. We don't know how or why, but still happened.
That's a question for later. I'm sure we'll see their matchup. I can't imagine a world where it's just like American Tornado doing bad. I think Revival's just stupidly good. And that's terrifying for any team that has to play them. But you got to get there first. Odyssey, we're heading into map number 2. It's going to be Havana. You're looking for some sort of poke. What are you looking for from Darkmode, though, in particular? Because it's hard to identify anything other than just the DPS right now.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, with how we saw the dive kind of coming out, it's a lot easier to see what the DPS are doing. A little bit harder to see the setup. you know, especially from Dreamer and Adam, but that's a tank line that I have a lot of respect for. Obviously, Adam got picked up from Australian contenders. We didn't get to see him, unfortunately, due to the circumstances that unfolded with his team as well as Dreamers. Nonetheless, though, the opportunity to see them now is certainly one that, you know, we're excited about, and to see them on a composition that I would have to imagine when you're looking between these two teams and you see that tank line and you see Rhino and Vulcan on something different, that's already an eyebrow raise from me.
I think this team has it in them to play a lot of different stuff. Like, if you remember, like, old school Rhino.
Rhino
right?
used to
Rhino,
be the Rhine, but like,
exactly.
he was literally Rhine
before the whole, or before the Orisa era of Rhino. This was the kid that everyone's like, oh, who's this kid in my comp games playing Reinhardt against
dumpstering
Super
me with his hammer, yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's not out of his tool set. Vulcan's Diva's still sick, and this composition looks just as comfortable, if not more, for Odyssey.
And no May there as well, so they can't slow the aggression that's going to come in from Odyssey. In fact, it's going to be Odyssey definitely taking advantage of the walls themselves. Darkmode kind of have to play these corners, and they're going to be vulnerable in the process to just being ran down.
The one thing to look out for here, though, for Darkmode, right, we've been singing the praise of Odyssey. Tree's got a sick Hanzo. The damage that can be done by this guy is ridiculous. And so far, it's working out. They've managed to find themselves the pressure, open up that first checkpoint. We haven't seen a team really fail here today, but that doesn't make it any less stressful.
Yeah, I mean, still, that's 40 seconds gone before they're even able to push the cart. So, you know, even if you lose that first fight, it doesn't even matter, because that's still kind of a win for you. You give up a little bit of ult charge, you gain some yourself, and you can just get back into the fight knowing full well that you've basically deleted almost a minute. And also, in the process, they also can't get high ground from you. You can take it back for free just because of the pathing in the map, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, this is good heads-up play by Odyssey. They're lacking, though, in the form of ultimates. Tree's going to have this Dragon Strike that's going to give them so much space. If he splits Odyssey in two with it properly, there's very little that can be done, but shots will be hit. Oh, Vulcan! Hey, we were looking for flashy plays, but there you go. All right. Nice. Yeah, Dragon's gone, Tree down. Darkmode is not having a fun time right now, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, not at all. Vulcan is showing out. And we talked about how flashy plays may not happen as much from the Diva's perspective. Vulcan's still finding a way.
He's one of those players that can do it at any point in time. Now, though, it's Odyssey's time to get in there. Rhino's looking for a flank. Great sound barrier. The timing is perfect by Odyssey. This team looks like they're doing just a ballet of death with Darkmode. And I'll tell you who's on the receiving end.
You gonna tell me?
It's Darkmode.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And now they've only got half their remaining time bank, and that's it. Odyssey is, again, showing off that versatility that we've been talking about. You just slot one different player in, and all of a sudden it's an entirely different team. The core of the roster is far more flexible than they were ever given credit for last year.
Flexibility's looking good. So, though, is the Blizzard from King. Not eating, bombs over. Transcend responds. Oh, it's just healing. It's not invulnerability. I'm sorry, it doesn't save you. Vulcan again is the menace haunting Darkmode right now.
I'm thinking about it a little bit right now, as we do see Odyssey just taking over. Just how good it is to have specialists in the DPS role in this meta. You know, when you think about it, the core is able to be versatile, but you have those specialists, and that really has been working a lot for a lot of teams right now.
I mean, call them special. I think, like, okay, you've got your solid players, right? Your Dove is a Kree, just aficionado. And then Sigma locks down the other half of the hit scan. King is like what I think of when I want an ideal flex player, someone who can fill the gaps. That's what I think of with King here.
Yeah, for sure. And there's other teams that did that last year, but it was typically the hit scan role that you saw that kind of happen in, outside of maybe Razor.
Working out. There's Tree showing up. Gets a dragon off actually this time. But Rhino has closed the gap. Tree's backing him up, holding it down for Darkmode right now. This Hanzo against the world, and he wants blood.
Yeah, and he's going to find it, too.
Oh my god.
Finally, Darkmode.
Is that 5? 4.
I think 4. Aspire got the last one, and someone else got the first one, I want to say. But either way, still a great showing from Tree, and now he's able to get it back up into a position. But look at this from Odyssey. They're going to be able to contest, and they're going to be able to take the fight right to the Sigma, who's not going to have as much protection. It's really going to rely on Landon to keep him alive here.
I love the pressure. The second the Sigma's throwing out the shield, they're immediately chipping away at it. That's one shield crack, looking for the second, but the high ground's paying off. Aspire with the help of the Zamp Matrix, he's just going off. Darkmode, I don't think they're done with this map quite yet here, because they've got a little something to say.
Yeah, and on top of that, they're going to be going into a section of the map that certainly, I would say, helps them, because they can get up onto that high ground. Then they're just trying to push down all the shields from Odyssey, and it's a lot easier for them to do so, because really it's just about getting that defense matrix down and then just taking out the smaller shield that Rhino's going to have comparatively to what Dreamer and Adam have together. So, I mean, this is all about just spamming things down. Odyssey knows how to play it, so I would imagine they have a good shot at playing against it.
Oh, that's a great wall to close the gap, though. It allows the shatter through. Shots on, Adam down, one tank left to go. Odyssey have closed the gap, but they got to get past the ultimates now. Tree peels away, great Dragon Strike to allow them back into the fight. The Bob now acting as a 6th member, and with Odyssey forced down under low ground, they've got nowhere to go. This is exactly what Darkmode wanted heading into this fight.
Oh, King goes down. That means the Blizzard's out of the equation as well, and now commit from both sides, just looking to sustain. The cart's just not moving.
Yeah, as much as this is a good position for Darkmode, they have to fight at some point. They've got to get that card moving like you're talking about. And they can't do that magically by sitting there with an Orisa and Sigma. Supreme is forced all the way back here, getting dueled by a Baby Diva. Oh, okay, that was a lot of damage. Supreme comes back with a vengeance. Gravitic Flux to finish the fight off. A little unnecessary from Adam, but the cart's going to get rolling anyways.
Still, just not a lot of time left for them to play around with. And Odyssey, in the meantime, they've been holding on to ults for a long period of time. Seeing them making swaps now, looking to go ahead and just hit that 1-to-1. A little bit of a pop-off here on your screen from Supreme, the player that actually, interestingly, kind of got picked up originally by the old TI staff.
Now here's the fight that we want. Oh, a halt bomb! Odyssey is getting crazy with it. I love this right now. More pressure. They come out, they said, oh, you want to play poke against us? Against us.
Well, that's what I'm saying too, right? I mean, the fact that Darkmode pulls this out, and the fact that Odyssey, you know, has that in their back pocket and is probably one of the better teams at that composition, was super interesting to see everything kind of, you know, pan out. Vulcan now going over to the Sigma, so it's a direct match now outside of King, who's again been holding on to this Blizzard for some time and now has it for what could be the final fight. Just soaks up the Dragon. Luke Mino now in a bad position, low HP, no invulnerability field. Trades himself out for Dreamer, fortunately. Tank for support. The Blizzard just keeps the card empty. No one can touch. What a... Odyssey make it look easy, man. It's Darkmode was ridiculous. There, though. They were there. They should have been able to touch, and then it was going to be... I think the strategy from Odyssey was give them the cart, play for the that flank side, because they were on that right edge inside of, you know, just inside, right under where you saw that bomb go off, and they were going to play from the back, give it up, and then, you know, they would have basically a pinch at that stage. They could play from the back, cover their own back with one of their supports, like just leave Luke Mino back there, and then Odyssey would have the respawns coming in, playing from that high window, and that was their strategy. But Darkmode just, for some reason, wasn't able to get there.
Here, I'm trying to not call a C9. I'm trying to give him a little bit of credit here.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
It was a well-laid plan by Odyssey. It worked a little earlier than they may have expected. How about that?
Yeah. There was definitely a strategy. You know, Rhino must have gotten a nasty little halt. You know, some went down. Either way, Odyssey get the stop, and now we'll see what they come out with here. You know, double sniper defensively for Darkmode here in Odyssey. I would love to see King stick with this Genji, because Odyssey has historically been known for their ability to play that double shield style with the Genji. They are really, really good at it. So to see King come in and do that for them would be outstanding. And I'm a big Soldier simp, so I mean, anytime I see Soldier, I'm hyped.
Are you hyped now?
I'm now less hyped.
Well, I do like a good Widowmaker, if that makes up for anything, and Aspires is not one to scoff at. With all this spam, Darkmode are showing a different look, right? The spam that Odyssey are playing is kind of a different flavor, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, most assuredly so. The big thing here is that Odyssey does have the capability to put some pressure onto that shield and then get King into a position where he can get behind them and then dash out. So it's a little bit safer of a flank, especially on a target like Aspire, who on the Widow something that we didn't see before is it's a lesser health pool than we're used to seeing at this level.
So far the fight's even though. They've got the card up far enough that it's pretty much neutral game. The Widowmaker's going to have a little bit less space to work with, but at the same time, a few more angles if they choose to take them. Extremely low Rhino will back up. Immortality Field's out for Odyssey. This entire thing, I mean, it's poke comp versus poke comp. I don't know what you expected, man. It's all going to come down to the picks, and there's King with the first.
Now, Odyssey, you have to take into account the fact that while this has been kind of a neutral fight, they've been pushing the cart. It hasn't stopped moving.
The health bars are just so low for Dark Mode. It's not just kill pressure, it is health bar pressure. Dark Mode don't have the resources, they don't have the cooldowns. Their shields are getting ripped to shreds every time they put them out. And there it goes, Sigma put the shield out, can't hold it, the pressure's too much. Dark Mode forced back. I think we've only seen like 2 kills this entire time.
Yeah, it's not been exactly a bloodbath that we've seen, you know, in other matches and even in this one earlier on, but King getting closer to his blade, that's when they can get a little bit more aggressive, but he doesn't have some of that, you know, some of that defensive capability that he would have with like a nano boost or maybe some follow-up with the diva. So when he does blade, it's going to have to be, I mean, precise is not even selling it at all. It's going to be tough to get some value with that.
To be fair, I think you're happy if the blade pulls out a Transcendence here. Right? Yeah. There's an opportunity for that to happen. That's a wonderful trade for you. Now you've got an Immortality Field out. Odyssey are waiting for the moment to go back in, but King is taking forever to get this blade up right now. He's going to have to use the Sigma Flux first. Transcendence used in response. Now the blade's up. No Transcendence in the way. How much can he get on the supports? Dash through. Immortality Field stops him right in his tracks, but he's happy with 2.
And the Bongo too. I mean, even the Supercharger goes down. So all things said and done, I think he's more than happy with that. And I wonder if there's a question here whether or not King makes the swap. I mean, got the value that he wanted. Unfortunately, doesn't culminate to a fight win, and that's where you see King now making that swap. A little pick there, going to slow things down with Luke Mino. We've seen Luke Mino just kind of caught out of position a couple of times now, and got to make sure that he's watching himself against a team like Darkmode that has that talent there. Definitely can't be caught in a poor position. You're going to be taken out.
Yeah, you gotta watch your forehead in the doorways, you know? Just keep it down a little bit. You'll be fine. Aspire and Trier, it's not like they're just some of the craziest DPS, you know?
Yeah, some of like the most undervalued DPS that we have in the region. But nonetheless, Tree now over the top. Bob goes in.
It's just card pressure. They're just trying to get this thing cruising. They know they got a yellow box to get to and only 3 minutes to do it. With Rhino off the high ground, it's going to be made even harder as well. They still have the shield up there to play with, which is comfortable. Aspire on an off angle, looking for a headshot though. Maybe a little bit too deep in enemy territory right now because Odyssey are rotating around. And when they reach this back line, that Zenyatta, that Orisa up on the over high ground are going to be much easier to deal with.
Yeah, King also getting a lot of shield pressure in as well, which means Darkmode can't push as aggressively as they would really like to. And now I think it's really going to come down to some of these duels, and Landon making sure to help out in a big way.
Aspire is wrapped literally all the way around this team. He went for the full flank, and he's cleaned up 3 this fight. Oh no, be careful. That was a ridiculous flank. He just didn't stop. No one pushed him out. They just avoided Aspire, and that doesn't really solve your problem. It's just a band-aid.
Yeah, and especially when he just keeps rotating and you don't have any kind of stop in place. There's nothing there to say, okay, if he gets to this point, he dies. They just kind of kept letting him rotate in behind them constantly, and eventually he's going to land a shot. I mean, Aspire's a great player. He's going to land a shot at some point.
They'll throw King out on the Tracer to try and equalize, though, and with the ultimate sitting as they are, it's Darkmode in a pretty good position. That Transcendence is a powerful thing to have. Adam thrown out, catches Vulcan without the Immortality Field having any sort of say in the matter. And I get the feeling, I mean, Odyssey are probably just going to have to eat a reset here.
Out of existence.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to just back off of this one. You're seeing Adam work these angles on the side, too. So he's going to get some value, maybe even a kill. Hoping to set up Tree there, follow up. And again, this is all down to time now. Odyssey got into this section of the map with plenty to work with, but now certainly a lot less so. And the Transcendence alone from Rack Attack isn't going to be enough to allow them to just come in. And yes, they do have the Tracer. It's not Signal.
The pressure they have is so little that they've got like this nice little 2-man hit squad between Rhino and King, but I mean, is that practiced? What are they trying? Luke Mino's got some damage to throw around. Will take down Dreamer. You really have to take care of both those shields though if you actually want to gain some space. And though Odyssey are coming up on ultimates, so are Dark Mode. They've still got that Transcendence.
Oh, King literally read his entire mind. Just not able to get the follow-up that he was looking for. Aspire is just not being taken down as quickly as King wanted to dispatch him.
Aspire's got the movement right now. Still is alive, mind you. But Odyssey are as well. 6 members in. King's got a Pulse Bomb. Where's it locked and loaded to go? They're looking for the Orisa. 80 HP. Lucmino finally takes it down that yellow box. Ever closer. It took a while to get here, Yurix, but Odyssey have arrived at their destination.
And just like that, they're up 2-0 as well, which means that this is now on to match point. But Odyssey, I mean, we know what happened in the last series. We know how things looked when the entire match opened up. And we've seen how Dark Mode has found a way back in. They found some kind of method, some strategy that has definitely kept them alive. And I think a lot of that relies on their ability to play together and be cohesive with Tree kind of at the helm, Aspire doing his thing as well. And they've done a good job of really kind of, I would say, making sure that they could keep Aspire in a specific spot where he's actually able to go off on flanks, but also able to come in and they can just hold him in a tight little pocket and he's able to be safe. And certainly a couple of situations where he got out by himself, but even in those situations, those scenarios, he's able to find value. And I think, again, Aspire was someone that we were looking at to be able to show out. I think he's doing that so far, but Tree is the person I'm looking for to make a big, big impact on this game to be able to turn things around for Dark Mode.
Yeah, I mean, the players individually look pretty solid. It's that flexibility from Odyssey that this roster was never given credit for up until now, right? They swapped to a ball at the end of the map and just make that composition work all of a sudden in the first fight that they really worked with it on. So the depth here, the mid-round calling, right? The call to swap to that composition at all is incredible enough in its own right in the last minute. There's a lot of stuff we have to see from Odyssey. Same thing goes for Dark Mode. They've got one more chance to hold on as well to their winner's bracket spot. And we'll be showing you guys that in just a second. We'll be back after a quick break.
Who is this Mayhem Spring Classic team?
All right, soldiers. Today we decide. Are we gonna run and hide? Or are we going to fight? They think it's over. Well, they got another thing coming. Because today we're going big.
Introducing Zaxby's new signature sandwich with a double hand-breaded filet, split top bun, and Zax sauce, our new spicy Zax sauce. Only at Zaxby's. Order ahead, drive through, or get it delivered.
Leveling up with Gift of Life is the easiest way to save a life. Go to levelupforlife.org. Answer a few questions, wait patiently, open your kit, swab that cheek, put it back in the mailbox, done. So what are you waiting for? Level up for life now.
It is Obey Alliance!
Welcome back, boy. Oh boy, do I have a series for you. Odyssey is up 3-0 on Darkmode, and they're looking... This is like a weird series to watch. Darkmode's got like these pop-off players. Odyssey's got some crazy flexibility. The new roster looks incredible. Map 3, though, Eichenwald, really open to play a lot of different stuff. So the question is now, like, we've seen a lot of different stuff from Odyssey, but since it's a map that they can play almost anything, what's their favorite?
Yeah, I mean, true. Absolutely true. In fact, speaking on that point a little bit, Odyssey, we've seen a lot of things from them, but something that I've really been missing out on is Malthul, and we're still not seeing him just yet. I'm sure we'll see him later in the tournament, but he's a player that I'm certainly keeping my eye on a little bit more than a lot of others. He's someone that I said some things about over the offseason that I may come to regret this year, and I hope I do come to regret them, because I just want to see everybody pop off. And Malthul's a player that certainly can. We just haven't seen him as much, especially because of the fact that they've integrated King and Sigma in now as well. And given what those players can do, they might be able to come in and do some things, particularly in this meta, a little bit differently that Odyssey is looking for. However, Odyssey still, they're coming in. They've got Dove, they've got Sigma going into Eichenwald, and this map here in particular, this is where Odyssey, I think, could either stay true to the vanilla approach, or they could do something a little weird. Teams going before trials, I think predominantly we're running stuff like Ash Tracer. Odyssey could pull that out here. They genuinely could. Dove and Sigma together make a really, really good Ash Tracer duo. I just don't know if you really want to do that right now.
Yeah, it feels like a weird place. Almost like Route 66 was in last series, right? You swap in two what are thought to be hit scan players. Yes, Dove and Sigma have pretty dissimilar hero pools for the most part, right? Dove being heavy on the McCree, Sigma being super heavy on the Tracer. They've both got a good bit of flexibility in there. But there's got to be a plan here, right? These teams aren't, rotate. Okay, it's this DPS's turn. It's time to put them in. It's like, no, they have a plan when they put these DPS in. It's just about figuring out what it is. And with a team that has as many faces as Odyssey does, it's a really big question mark. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not envious of Darkmode's position of having to kind of fill in that blank.
Yeah, I mean, preparation, you might as well throw it out the window, because at any point, Odyssey could just throw literally one different DPS player in there, and the whole dynamic shifts away from what you thought they were going to play into something entirely different. We're talking about going from, like a double shield spam comp, you swap in Sigma over literally anything, and all of a sudden they're diving now. Or, you keep Dove and King in, and all of a sudden you can do a whole bunch of different things because those players are incredibly flexible. You put Malthul in, all of a sudden you've got one of the better Reapers. They could run that kind of thing. That could be really difficult to deal with as well. But he's also got Tracer, McCree, he's got Genji, he's got Doomfist, King's got Doomfist. There's so many different things that Odyssey could do just by changing one player on their DPS. The rest of this team can just swap around it, and they're just as solid on every comp that we've seen them on.
And now this makes me really nervous. Right, watching Ash Tracer into Ash Tracer. Look, man, Tree, a huge up-and-comer, has a really deep hero pool. But you're challenging Sigma right now, which is gonna take some serious work to do. But they've set the bar. They've got to hold on now. What are you thinking, Herix?
Well, the first thing I'm thinking is anybody that can match Sigma is insane already out of the gate. So
I think that's the first trying.
Yeah, if you can go 1-to-1. And you don't become a problem, then that's a solid performance in my book right now with Tracer v Tracer. But either way, no shielding, very pick dependent. This is definitely, with this type of mirror, going to be very chaotic.
Yeah, Darkmode have some semblance of a plan of where they want to go, but the second you leave one person behind, the ugly duckling left on their own, Supreme goes down. Tree nearly one clip by Sigma, setting the tone for this duel right now. The Wrecking Ball out as well. Darkmode just lacking in resources after this. Zenyatta went down. They're going to lose a good bit of time off the clock.
Yeah, nothing to really do about that. I mean, you've got the weapons at your disposal. You do have, the Tracer to combat it. You do have the bubbles. You have the coach gun. You have the Brig, and with everything that Brig comes to the table with. But still, it just doesn't feel like it's enough. I mean, Sigma is just that good. Just that big of a problem, especially when you've got a player like Rhino able to set him up, and Vulcan's there to make sure that Rhino can be more aggressive, can be that player that pulls away a lot of the attention so Sigma can do the things that we've seen him do.
Well, let's not give up on Darkmode's DPS quite yet. Aspire still got a hot-looking Ashe. We got a solid Tracer online right now, and they've got the space they need to get to this point. The Zarya pretty low in HP, being healed up, but little low for Adam and Dreamer right now. And when those tank resources are gone, you're going to lose all that space all over again. You get Sigma and Rhino in your backline, and this push is shut down again.
Yeah, and Sigma with the recall, they're able to reset. Tree should drop here. Does manage to get out for the time being, but Sigma's still hunting him. Finally let him go, but 2:15 now on this time bank. Rack Attack ready to go with a rally, and, you know, with him as well on the Brig, that's something that I think also favors Odyssey, because Rack is genuinely a solid Brig, and I think, you know, some people are going to be like, lol, Brig. I mean, who cares who's better? It's Brig. But there really is a difference. You look at players like Rack and Kara even over in EU, who used to play, I mean, they make a difference.
There's a strong Sozi engage though. Mines, the Tracer's there for the follow-up. Tree showing a little bit of moxie right now. One under Rack Attack. That Brig you said was going to be so important. And now the space isn't really there for Odyssey. Dove's back. Doesn't have a support with them. Transcendence is there, but... Okay, they will regroup ball. Tracer, that's actually 5 up here at the top of the hotel. Let's see what they can get done on the re-engage.
You see the grab now. Invested Vulcan just completely disintegrated.
And there's no touch.
Wow.
And that's it. Darkmode cleaned up. They were probably going to win the fight anyways, but man, does it sting that Odyssey weren't able to get on.
Well, now they do have the ability to go up onto that high ground. They don't have ults to really contest with, so they want to make sure that they get positional advantage. Darkmode doesn't really have anything to contest with themselves, and I think now they just want to get up on high ground, get up on top of the castle, get Sigma into position, drop Rhino in, and start seeing what they can do into the backline. You see Supreme out there on an island by himself, not really protected just yet by anything. I mean, even the Brig isn't there.
What a poop. Dreamer. Luke Minos down off the high ground. Somehow, an uncharacteristic miss by Rack Attack. Either that or Rack Attack wasn't quite in position to hit the shield bash on the Wrecking Ball, but that's a big enough pick to just send you back, and Odyssey know they can't take this 5v6.
See the duel happening as well in the back line, but I'm not sure it's going to matter all too much. Odyssey really needs to focus on that main fight more than anything else right now that they have the advantage that they've been looking for.
You've got the opening. Dove has a fantastic sightline to work with right now. Rack Attack down though. Tree showing a little bit of life on the Tracer. Going for 3 in the fight. Will get that much at least. And the cart cruising through point B. Darkmode are showing us a little bit of something with this Tracer pick.
And I think that's an interesting thing as well, is that Sigma, he's popping off in the backline, but Darkmode, they've shifted their focus. They're no longer trying to take that 1-to-1. They're making sure that they're just ignoring Sigma, leave him in the back, try to focus on that main fight, and try to get some value with their own Tracer, who isn't, you know, trying to compete in that duel.
The fight isn't advantageous. Don't take it. Right now, Darkmode are actually doing that. Backing away, taking their sweet time. They'll wait for the rally. They'll have armor going into this. It's just going to be tough to contest Odyssey, who are slowly but surely pulling ahead in ultimates.
And look at this swap too. Supreme over to the Lucio. That makes it a lot easier. There's one less target that's going to be easy pickings for Sigma.
You know who it is easy pickings for? It's Luke Mino. There goes Tree, who's been a bit of a problem these past couple fights. The rally will not bring your Tracer back to life, unfortunately. And with the bot being thrown in as well, Odyssey win another to stabilize here. And the further the back that cart gets, the worse it is, because Odyssey are going to have a pretty good stagger.
Yeah, absolutely. And now with only 90 seconds remaining and Odyssey in position as well, there's going to be a huge reliance on Darkmode to get into position before they can make anything happen. They don't have support ults to get them there. They're losing player after player with Sigma just diving in on top of them. And even when they get into position, they're going to go grab to grab, and Odyssey has the support ults that Darkmode doesn't. I mean, huge favor right now, especially if Odyssey can continue to get picks and prolong this pre-fight.
Yeah, this reminds me of the double shield that we got with Ashe Genji. You know, where Ashe is just picking people off with shots and dynamite. Genji going in to clean up low HP heroes, but instead it's Sigma cleaning up everybody and their mother and the kitchen sink at the same time. Cart presence is there, though. Dreamer's into the back line. Has to go back. Darkmode struggling to find any bit of space here. Now Odyssey have built up all these ultimates. This push is looking worse and worse.
Y'all got a kitchen sink? Y'all rich like that? I got a trough for the Gators. But nonetheless, Grab gonna be thrown down, and they're throwing everything.
Oh, pulse bumps in over top. Nothing to be had. Transcendence keeping him alive. Sigma's trying to find a different angle in here, and what an angle they found. It's a Zenyatta in their sights. Supreme doesn't even look at him, just gives up on life. And you know what? I can't blame you with Sigma doing this much.
still, though, a lot committed there by Odyssey, and there's still one last opportunity here for Darkmode, though they do have to touch, so they have to get Dreamer in position. I think that's going to be the person that they send forward. Maybe a little bit of backup there from Tree. But outside of that, they're going to be sending it all the way forward, and there's going to be 4 players left behind without a lot of protection.
Oh, Vulcan and Rack Attack for contest. I'm sorry it's going to take you a long time to kill this Wrecking Ball. The loading bar is not complete. In this time, though, you got to watch the backline. Sigma's looking for those supports. If they can take down Landon, if they can take down Supreme like they have before they get on top of this cart, you're in a fantastic spot. Aspire should be the next target, but each of these 200 HP heroes are what Odyssey are looking for. They don't care that much about the tanks right now because they have the respawn advantage, and so far, it's working out beautifully.
And just like that, too, Dreamer is the only person left alive, really, and Sigma is just hunting him.
Rack Attack does shield bash into a mine. Will not be punished regardless. Honestly, a beautifully played last fight, honestly. Using the cart pressure, using the fact that they had to touch with the tanks to find and hunt those backline players to camp the spawn. Really, really smart play.
Yeah, look at this, too. Sigma was just all over Supreme in the backline. You saw for a moment there, actually, Supreme went over to Lucio just to be a little bit less of an easy target, especially with Landon trying to play forward with his tank line, you know, on top of Aspire a little bit as well. Because if Aspire goes down, they just lose all their damage. Tree is kind of playing into the front line a little bit, not really taking that duel with Sigma. So it becomes a lot onto Aspire more so than maybe it was onto Dove. And even still, Dove had all that space because Sigma and Rhino were doing exactly what they needed to do. So, I mean, holistically, Odyssey was just doing everything right there. And certainly showed in the fact that Darkmode is now having to bend and flex to try to deal with the problem, which is Sigma.
You know, though, we saw the same thing over on Havana, right? With it getting through to point B, and the point B push wasn't easy for Odyssey. They still finished with like a minute left on the clock, but it didn't look comfortable. And I think that may be the same case here. A lot of it, though, comes down to how much time can you get off the clock here at point A.
Yeah, I think another thing to take a look at, too, is Tree on the Sombra. Rhino's just going to have that much harder of a time. If Sigma doesn't have, you know, an extra blink stored or a recall available, he could get hacked, he could get caught out because he plays far more aggressively as well. So certainly Sigma and Rhino, the impact should be lessened here just because Tree is on the Sigma, the Sombra.
Yeah, I think it's a little tough too that you're throwing Aspire into the fire, right? Tree did a pretty solid job, I think we'd both say, against Sigma. A respectable performance nonetheless. And now you're saying, okay, other DPS, you got to go do the same thing, which is, again, a tall order, but they're lined up to do it for the time being. Not without a main tank, you aren't. Dreamer's down, and this point is looking pretty tasty for Odyssey right now.
And look at the pressure that's being thrown out onto Tree as well. He's just not able to do anything. Finally, the hack goes, and so does Sigma.
This is maybe a little bit too much for Odyssey, but they're getting up that tick percentage. They have a slight spawn advantage here on point A, and they're grouped up. The positioning for them is the most important thing to watch here because they are still all together until you lose your Zenyatta. That should probably be the push here.
Yeah, I think Dreamer should be able to help get himself a reset. The Sombra hacked pack in the back line definitely helps, but they're completely backed off. I mean, it was just, I think it was just Dreamer there. Tree got killed. Aspire's back. I mean, there was really just no help for Dreamer. He had to do it basically by himself or there was no shot. So Odyssey now with just over 5 minutes. Sigma already getting into position and actually stealth checked him as well. Tree gets caught out. Now no translocator either.
That's unfortunate. Oh, Sigma's got one target. He wants a trance is what he wants. Oh my god, he could not get it out of Supreme. Dropped down to 20 HP. Did not press Q on Zenyatta. What? So this is just ice cold from Darkmode, but they know what they have to do to win. And it stay on the high ground. Oh my god, that was close.
But in the meantime, when they're just stuck on this high ground, they can't contest either. They can't get help over to Dreamer that he so desperately needs for them to be able to continuously contest.
When you're playing the Sombra, it means you're not playing an Ashe, so any engagement you take is going to be pretty much a full engagement. You can't poke away from the high ground the same way that Odyssey were able to.
Yeah, and at this stage, with the timing that they have, the fact that they almost kind of need to contest and they don't have that over-the-top damage that you're talking about with the Ashe, it really comes down to just cycling EMPs, and they have to be really, really effective if they're going to get any kind of success here. So I'm looking at Tree right now, has to land, you know, at least like a 3-man and try to get some kills flowing from it. Otherwise, they're going to continue to struggle here.
Yeah, they're relying on like a 2-ult combo or like a 2-ult rotation, right? You've got EMP and then you've got Grav Pulse Bomb. And if either of those miss, the cycle's over, the timer's too big, and Odyssey will be cruising on. Odyssey are forcing the fight early right now. You're looking for the EMP to land over top. But Tree can't find a good angle right now. Tree's there late, got the translocator forced out, and now the EMP, maybe it hits somebody, but you've already lost a player.
Now the EMP goes out. They have that extra support. They have the armor as well as the Transcendence, but there's the late follow-up there. Cycle is continuing.
Pulse Bomb was not up. Aspire didn't have any follow-up to that grab. Darkmode are getting desperate right now. They feel like they have to make an engage. The cart's getting too close, but nerves are only going to get you so far. And a very nice stun by Dove hits to Odyssey. Just ice cold. Both of these teams, right? Supreme holding on to the trans was nice, but Odyssey, the presence of mind said, you know what? We'll play time. We're happy to use every last second of this 5 minutes to win this game, and that's exactly what happened.
And again, I think this just speaks to the flexibility that this roster has. You know, certainly I think the players themselves are pretty flexible. The support line especially is one that I think didn't get enough credit, you know, last season and may not yet this, you know, going into this season as well, but they deserve it. We're seeing Luke, Mino, and Rack Attack pulling some things out that, you know, nobody really thought that he could do. Yes, they inevitably land on what effectively is kind of some comforts. We saw Luke a couple times on Bat. We saw Rack Attack obviously quite often on Brig, but nonetheless, they're capable of doing some different things, and it's allowing Odyssey to just plug and play different DPS players that are very strong specialists on certain characters. Yes, they have the flexibility, but they don't need it really, because Sigma, I mean, he could just play Tracer and it doesn't matter.
I mean, I think that we talk about the DPS and being able to swap them out to have that flexibility, but let's be real. The core of the flexibility in this team, I think, comes from the tank line. Rhino is just ridiculous at pretty much everything you want him to be. I haven't seen his Winston too much. That's maybe a question mark, but I mean, when was the last time we saw one of those? I thought a double bubble, and that's not being played right now. So I mean, he covers
they didn't have
all the bases you could want in this meta.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only time really that teams were really pulling that out was, you know, the Eastern teams in contenders level, you know, especially like Chinese contenders that you were covering. I think we saw quite a little bit of double, but that wasn't happening in NA and EU. We were seeing almost exclusively for a long time the double shield, and Odyssey was at the forefront of the double shield, and people tried to do a lot of different things to contest it and combat against it, and Odyssey just kept throwing them out. And really the only team that I think was able to do something consistently against it that wasn't just the double shield was only American Tornado, who are now in the lower bracket.
Yeah, well, and things are shifting up really quickly here, but we know the flexibility is there. Odyssey looks like a team reborn. They look like a team that is revamped even after such an incredible season last time. We're going to look into the mindset and what it's like to have gone through all these changes in just a sec while we bring in a player in for an interview.
Who is this Mayhem Spring Classic team?
Attention!
It's enough. This has gone on way too long. If we're gonna win this thing, we've got to go big.
Introducing Zaxby's new signature sandwich with a double hand-breaded filet, split top bun, and Zax sauce, or new spicy Zax sauce. Only at Zaxby's. Order ahead, drive through, or get it delivered.
This is the Mountain Everest Max. It is a fully hot swap, customizable, modular keyboard that really pulls off something special that no other keyboard has done in the past with these certain add-on pieces. That not only can you add them and take them off as you please, but you can put them on whatever side of the keyboard you want. But the big selling point with this is the add-on modules. They have the numpad with LCD screens and a media dock. So the option is completely yours to configure this keyboard however you want to use it. You can build it all up to its Everest Max version. Just use the media dock if you want to have a smaller, compact layout, or change up the sides. If you want to use this completely on the left side, if you're a lefty, you have complete freedom to change this, configure it however you want. And that's the overall beauty of a modular keyboard like this. Everest really has something special here.
It is Dark Mode.
So we're back after what was a much more succinct series than the first, I think is
to put it.
An apt way to put it. And the team doing all of the succinct movement was Odyssey. We've got Rack Attack in with us. And what on earth? This is a total change up for Odyssey. Y'all bring a couple new players into the roster, and you look like an entirely different team. We saw flexibility like we've never seen before from you. I've got to add, like, the team dynamic seems to have changed entirely. So internally, what's that been like?
I mean, we just kind of started picking up all the good DPS players. You just hoard them. If no one else can have them, like, it's good.
I mean, you guys are doing a little bit of some plug and play stuff. You guys even picked up Sigma. I actually want to go into that. I had a different question lined up, but as soon as I said Sigma, I have to know, what's it like playing with him? I mean, I think with regard to his play style, maybe there isn't, a communication barrier. I mean, first of all, how did you pick him up? What was that conversation like? And then how has it been integrating him into the system?
Well, actually, at the time, I wasn't on the team. Stuff happened, like, in the off season. I don't know how we got him exactly, but he knows what he's doing. Like, that fight on Oasis, we were like, we're backing up. And then he kills 5. And then we're like, okay, I guess we're going back.
Yeah, this roster just looks unstoppable. And like with the newfound flexibility, it feels like you guys can do almost anything on any map. Is there someone in particular leading that? Is that like pre-planned stuff for the most part, or are you guys playing it by ear during the games?
I mean, we usually just start out on the same stuff, but we're all just comp grinders. Like, a lot of the people just know what counters what, and we just kind of pick random things that will work.
Yeah, I think certainly flexibility, versatility, that's the kind of thing that a lot of people are going to be talking about with regards to Odyssey. I mean, obviously I remember last year the conversations that people had about your guys' team, about how, Rhino's an Orisa one trick, you're a Brig one trick, Luke Mino only plays BAP, so on and so forth. But obviously you guys do a whole lot more than that. I mean, what's it kind of like to be able to play at this level on a whole bunch of different things and to show those people that are saying those things just how wrong they are?
I mean, it definitely feels great to just be able to, like, have results in multiple metas, even though, like, Double Shield was there for like 6 months. So we were doing really good, and then so doing good in other metas is really nice.
Yeah, I mean, well, you guys look flexible. You look like you have all the tools you can need. On the other side of the bracket, though, there is some stuff going on, man. American Tornado gets 3-0'd. Revival versus Obey Alliance is going on right now. What are your feelings heading into later in the day, whether that's winners finals, whether that's grands, whether that's maybe getting knocked down to the losers bracket? What are your prospects looking like?
I mean, we just play our own game. If something's going wrong, fix it, and then whoever we play against, it'll probably work.
And what are your thoughts right now? I mean, obviously a lot of the trials teams that we've been seeing have been really kind of pushing Rush. Some of the teams that aren't in trials, that are already in contenders or what have you, I mean, not really playing the Rush. I mean, what are your thoughts on it? Strengths, weaknesses, things that you see?
I mean, you just goes team by team. Like, some just don't know how to play against certain comps. Rush is really good. You can always just mirror, so having like a backup pick just to confuse people that haven't played against not Rush is really nice.
Yeah, the preparations there, the tools are all there. You've got some hard matchups ahead, though. I'm sure that you got to get prepped for. So thank you so much for coming in for the interview.
Thank you.
All right, we've got one more for Hurix and I going up through the winners bracket. We've got the winners final. Once the decider match of Revival versus the Bay Alliance is over, we'll be coming back with that in just a second, ladies and gentlemen. There's plenty more mayhem that you aren't going to want to miss.